You got Wi-Fi.
And welcome to another exciting and informative edition of the Love Power Show. In the studio with me today, Omar Baruti, Lonnie Simmons, Jeffrey Steele, Talut El Amin, and we have a special guest, Brother Malcolm Robinson, and he's going to talk with us about an upcoming event. Being a genius, evolving out of stones or something like that, Brother Malcolm, go ahead.
That's correct, that's correct. I'm Malcolm Robinson. I'm here representing the Manefra Project. For those of you who are not familiar with Manefra, Manefra actually means Memphis. Memphis is actually the Greek name, and Manefra was a Menepher-Narmer, correction. Menepher-Narmer was an Egyptian ruler who united both Upper and Lower Egypt about 3100 BC, so that's pretty much where we got the idea of Manefra. The actual purpose of the project is to try to unite the black community in the city of Memphis. I mean, as we all know, the city of Memphis is deteriorating at this particular point. If you look at the condition of our youth, if you look at the school systems, if you look at the economic turmoil that's going on within the city, we definitely need balance. And that is the purpose of the Manefra Project. Our children, our youth need identity. And who better to do that than our own? Mm-hmm. And so that's what we'll be doing this May 16th, 2015, which is next Saturday, at 485 Beale Street. That's the Martin Luther King Jr. Labor Center. Many Memphis residents are very familiar with the Martin Luther King Center. And we will be bringing a griot historian, grandmaster teacher of Mr. Ashraf Kwesi. Mm-hmm. If you are not familiar with Ashraf Kwesi, you can YouTube him. The spelling is A-S-H-R-A, that's Ashraf. Mm-hmm. Kwesi is K-W-E-S-I. You can kind of get familiar with what he does. Mm-hmm. What he will be doing for us that particular day is bringing visual documentation, and he will be unlocking the African genius using the books in stone. And he will give a brief and detailed history on the evolution of African people.
Okay. All right, we thank you for being here. And if you want to stay and sit in, if you have to go and do some other things, that'll be fine. But if you want to stay and join the conversation, yes, the Love Power Show, we hope that you out there will call somebody. Because, Mr. Robinson, here we discuss everything from the sublime to the ridiculous. We make the sublime clear and we make the ridiculous make sense. And join us because we have a panel of guests who are experts, exciting, knowledgeable, and thought-provoking. That's what we do right here. So today, Omar, we are talking more about the situation in Baltimore. Is that right? And on this piece you gave me last week, and I want to start with you, and let's go this way, because Talut said something that I actually saw, and we didn't get around to talking about it. I want to touch on that today. And today is Mother's Day. We want to say some things along those lines as well. Now, Mother Jones, eyewitnesses. It says the Baltimore riots didn't start the way you think. It says that the Baltimore teachers and parents tell a different story, Brother Malcolm. It says that it's different from the one you've been reading in the media. It says that eyewitnesses, the Baltimore riots did not start that way. After Baltimore police and a crowd of teens clashed near the Mondawmin Mall in Northwest Baltimore on Monday afternoon. We know when that was. News reports described the violence as a riot triggered by kids who had been itching for a fight all day. But in interviews with Mother Jones and other media outlets, teachers and parents maintained that police actions inflamed a tense but stable situation. Now, word games. It says the police inserted this word, youth itching for a fight. This is something we're going to be careful about and watch out for. But listen, I want to go right to you, Omar. I've been advised not to talk so much, just ask the questions. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Omar, and give us your take on this piece.
You know, Mother Jones magazine is and I have subscribed to for the past 30 years. And they come up with news that the regular media won't print. And they go down to the depths of issues. But when I saw where the police were causing buses to stop and had the children to get off the bus. And then they were stopping buses who would pick up children from coming into the bus stops to get the children. Forcing the children to be there with no ride to get out of that area. Because they wanted those children to congregate there for one specific reason, and that is so they could have a setup of those children for a riot. It's like a misdirection play. You know, they're talking about Freddie Gray, who was injured inside the police van. But they don't talk about the injury he suffered before he got to the van. It's like you're gonna misdirect it from the white officer that might have, you know, broke his spine to the black one that was driving the van of a man who had a broken spine. It's misdirection, and we need to delve into that and find out why they set up our children like that, and why they do Freddie Gray like that too.
Okay, and here's what witnesses say according to the piece you gave me last week.
Yes.
That just what you just said. The police were stopping buses and forcing riders, including many students who were trying to get home, to disembark. Cops shut down the local subway stop. They also blockaded roads near the Mundelein Mall and Frederick Douglass High School, which is across the street from the mall, and essentially corralled young people into the area. That is, they did not allow the after-school crowd to disperse. Now, I've been told that some of the students were trying to make their way to the library. What a great place to be trying to make your way to. Omar?
I don't understand, but in a way I do understand.
Okay.
You know, white people want to put the worst spin on a situation like that, as if white people don't riot. They were trying to invoke and incite the children to riot, knowing these were children. White people riot for dumb, stupid stuff, and they don't call them thugs. President Obama called these rioters in Baltimore thugs. But when white people rioted after a soccer game that their team won or lost, and they tear up the city and burn up cars, they don't call them thugs. When they riot after a baseball game, sometimes they riot if the team won, and sometimes they riot if the team lost. I mean, they riot. and they're rioters, and they do the same destruction, except worse. And they're still not addressed to this stuff. They were revelers. They were having a good time. They were partying.
Yeah, and so you're saying this article says they were itching for a fight. It looks like this group of people you were just talking about are the ones who are always itching for something destructive.
And they were looking for a reason to crack down on the children so they could declare martial law or whatever other military force they wanted to use against them.
Well, here's something right here. Let's go this way. Jeffrey, let me read this piece to you. It says, police were forcing buses to stop and unload all of their passengers. Then, Frederick Douglass High School students in huge herds were trying to leave on various buses but couldn't catch it because they were all shut down. No kids were yet around except about 20 who looked like they were waiting for police to do something. The cops, on the other hand, were in full riot gear, which you just mentioned, marching toward any small social clique of students. It looked as if there were hundreds of cops. Now, I have a problem with this wording, these word games that the media uses. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Well, like you were just saying, we have to really, we really have to question these words and who was actually itching for the fight. Because when you're dealing with the youth and the city transportation, the youth don't have any control over that, but the city does. You see, that's why it's so important for us in times like this to realize that we have dependency issues. You see, because if those were our own buses, those kids probably would have made it home. They wouldn't have all been, or made it to their destinations. They wouldn't have all been congregating in the same place as it looks like they were set up to do. So we have to look at and see who's trying to cause this mass chaos and for what purposes. And I think it's pretty obvious in this case.
Okay. I hear you saying something about African Americans needing to control their own lives, but more specifically, our own source of transportation. I heard you say something about our own buses. And I think you mean African Americans controlling their own means and modes of transportation. Is that what I hear you saying?
Oh, absolutely. We have dependency issues on all levels. So, I mean, and that's just, you know, I think I came across actually a documentary yesterday on how they were talking about the Montgomery bus boycotts and how we were able to really shut the city down just based upon we didn't own those buses, but because we chose not to use those, that's what caused that particular ploy or strategy to work. But in this case, we see how us not having this transportation or not having access or ownership of these things, how they can use that power against us. Even with our kids, they had the ability to take our kids where they wanted them to go, to have them congregated in the place that they wanted to have them, and that's a very vulnerable position that we have.
Okay. Vulnerability. Talu, the young prosecutor, what's her name again, Lonnie, Jeffrey? Miss Mosby. She addressed that issue, Omar, about our youth, African-American youth, whether or not they were thugs or not. She came out strong and she said, those are our children, they're not thugs, they need us now, and let's get out there and talk with our young African-American men. Dependency issues. Talu, whose responsibility? And whatever you want to say about that in regards to mothers and their input. Come on.
It's the adult's responsibility. We, male, female, mothers, fathers, are responsible, 100%. The problem is, we are not our own leaders. Somebody else, we follow somebody else who happen to be Caucasian. Okay, we buy what they're selling. Okay, if they're selling rides, we buy. If they're selling destruction, we buy. Okay, if they're selling the youth of thugs, we're buying. We buy everything from them. Okay, everything. Everything our whole life, we buy it from them.
So, real quick, I want you to keep talking. So if I'm selling ice as an African American, and Mr. whatever his name over there is selling ice, and he's a white man, are you saying that African Americans are having the tendency to buy his ice because his ice is colder than mine?
No. What I'm really saying is that we're colonized so much so,
Okay.
to regardless of what these people put out before us in the form of media, politics, or anything else, we're buying.
That's right. That's right.
Okay?
Without
See,
examination.
without examination. And,
Okay.
and in fact, what we do is this. They'll say, your children are thugs. And we'll say, yes, they are.
We gotta do something.
But we don't understand the effect of what we're buying. See, in a capitalist society, there's a value on everything, even our bodies. There's a value on that, especially in the criminal system. When we take the position that our children are thugs, they are deviants, they are all these negative things, the other side says, look how much money we're gonna make. And they immediately start coming up with ways to make money off of our purchasing the idea that they threw out before us. So you get a prison system of 2 million men, women, and children, most of them black, in this system. Because we bought the system, the criminal system that was presented to us during the Clinton administration. And as a result of the Reagan and Clinton administration, we are now paying with our lives and money for our being tough on our own selves. It's crazy, it's insane. And the thing about it is this, the last point I want to make is this, that since no one is in charge, see, we're in a society where no one is in charge, but everyone is in charge of themselves. We think as black people that somebody somewhere can stop this. Somebody somewhere can correct this. But there isn't anybody. It's us. We have to come together and decide that we almost have to write the law on how people are going to treat us when we do certain things. We have to write our own law on that, but we don't have the mindset or the brain set to do it.
Okay, Brother Malcolm, I want to go to you. He said quite a few important things. One of the things that I heard come out of that dissertation was self-hatred. In other words, buying goods and services and products from others who are not like us, don't have our own interest at hand. That is called self-hatred. If I used ICE before, I'm going to use another analogy this time. If I'm selling a product in my business, do African Americans tend to go elsewhere and buy and not support their own businesses, Brother Malcolm?
Well, this is definitely true. It's not true for 100% of all black Americans in the U.S., but definitely a majority. And this is obvious through the fact that we're leading poverty. You know, though we are considered the lesser of all other ethnicities in the United States, I think they got us at what, 12, 13%. If you look at research by Michelle Alexander, she wrote a book about the incarceration rate of African American males. African Americans owned 0.5, half of 0.5%, I believe it was, and even to this day, we own that much of the wealth in this country. You have 64% of the wealth of the world is owned by, what, 1% of the population, and we know that the majority is white. So obviously, we are not patronizing our own business. I think in 2015 we were projected to gross $1 trillion. The black population was stated to gross $1 trillion in 2015 in one article I read about 2 years ago. That's enough for almost every black family to at least have a six-figure salary. So if we spent or allowed our own dollars to circulate our community 20 plus times like it used to back in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we would definitely see a difference.
Right, you mentioned Tulsa, Oklahoma, that is the Black Wall Street. And there are lots of documented information about the...
Another white riot.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't mention, what's the other one? Rosewood.
Yeah, Rosewood.
Oh, constantly.
And nobody brought to justice.
Right. And
And they weren't called thugs.
Right, absolutely. So that it ranges from 1%, less than, to this 5%. I hadn't seen those stats yet. But the point of the matter of it is that it's quite low. Now, I want to go to you, Lonnie. They were talking about what to do about the problem, the pundits on TV in Baltimore. And they are talking about, and here we go again, these words, job training. Bringing job training. And let's look at that for a little while, y'all. Job training to Baltimore, Maryland, for the young people. What do you think about that?
I mean,
Listen to the words carefully. Think about it.
right. I was, my opinion is job training on what in particular. And even if they do train them in jobs, who's going to own the job? And who's going to pay them that minimum wage that they already been, projected to earn for however long lifespan that they already expect. But we need to think about, it was arguments before and recently. I think I heard about reparation, right? And we all have our own ideas and concept on reparation, but it's back to the comment on jobs or whatever. Until we change the whole outlook of we don't need jobs. We need to start creating our own businesses, like the brother said, to circulate our money within our own communities, and locally and nationally. And until we get on that business mindset, we're going to forever spend our dollars with other ethnic groups.